All right. Happy April the 8th and happy eclipse. Many people have been asking for my take on what to do. This is a very unique eclipse. I'd say we haven't had one like this in at least 200,000 years, maybe more. But Earth tends to go in cycles, and not all eclipses are created equal in my perspective. I have a bit of an indigenous perspective, as you probably know. And I typically would say stay in. Some people would stay in, stay out. There's been a lot of fear in terms of what people are suggesting that you should do. But I don't want you to follow what me or anyone else or anyone's guides or counsel tells you to do. From my perspective, the point of my teachings is to get you to honor your own soul. I am having a hard time today. Um, I just, yeah, it's a really rough, energetic feeling, and um, I'm going to stay in probably. My daughter and I will likely be skating during that time, but I will stop during the actual totality part and go and meditate inside. And I will honor myself and my ancestors during that time as I typically do. I typically don't go outside. There's only one eclipse that I've ever been outside for. But as always, if in my internal guidance, if something comes up in my heart that says, you know what, go outside, I will do that. And I suggest that you honor your own guidance as well. That's the point of spiritual seeking, is not to allow anyone else to frighten you or tell you what to do. I don't particularly have the perspective that this eclipse is harmful, has negative energies, will hurt you. But be logical. Don't look at it, you know. I'm not going to go out there and look at it either. It's one of these things where you don't want to do anything absolutely ridiculous and harmful to your retina. And then simultaneously, you also need to follow your own guidance. I'm going to stress this in everything that's going around. It's maddening what's going around in spiritual communities right now. There's a lot of insane perspectives, opinions, and people shoving their belief systems on everyone, and it's particularly happening in regards to the eclipse. But in regards to anything, I feel like it's really important that you follow your own guidance. I'm always going to tell you that. I'm never going to try to tell you what to do when you are empowered beings who are more than capable of knowing what to do. No influencer, no spiritual teacher or director or channel or psychic or healer should ever tell you what to do. We can only give you suggestions in terms of how to tune back into yourself, right? I can always tell you my personal perspective, but it's always just my perspective. That's all that it is, and the perspective of my spirit team and my soul group and the beings who work well with me. But these days, everyone connects so well, and that's wonderful that you have the capacity to tune in deeply to your own soul and to your own spirit team, to your own guidance, right? Now, in my perspective and the perspective of the council who guides me, um, we feel that eclipses have always been a time to go within, to honor Father, Son, and Mother Earth. There's always been an essence of divinity, divine feminine divinity in the moon, and divine masculine divinity in the sun. And the sun is created in a way that gives us outward power, but when it's gone, it represents going within. When the sun goes away in this particular unique eclipse that's very rare, we get this chance to be reborn. We get this chance to internally gauge who we are and who we want to be, to release old ways, to release old ways of life, and to make new commitments and new vows to cosmic energies of Father God, to the sun itself and the Christic consciousness that it represents, because it is a metaphor. It's a symbol for that internal consciousness and external consciousness. So the moon is internal, the sun is external. So when the sun hides, maybe so should we. Now again, my perspective. Maybe we can use this opportunity to honor our ancestors, to honor the sun, and go deep within ourselves and just say, okay, this is a sacred moment to provide deep reverence to our ancestors and to Mother Earth, and to decide what we need to let go of and what isn't working. So you'll notice in this eclipse, old ways, not necessarily relationships falling away, even though that may be the case, but old ways of interacting with things at work and in relationship, old ways of lifestyles, kind of just, if it isn't working for you, after this eclipse, you'll be feeling like, wow, these are all the things that really aren't working for me. And these are things that I'm going to internally reflect upon, pray about, meditate upon during this eclipse, and hopefully during the time when this eclipse is over, we'll feel a moment, a chance to wonder about how we can be reborn. And what I mean by reborn is how we can do something new in our lives, something sacred, something beautiful, and something practical. There are practical things that we need to change as well, about our lives and our relationships, our work, our careers, how we treat our bodies, how we love ourselves, or in many cases, how people don't care and love for themselves, how we could be more kind and compassionate to others, and our unique styles of communication with ourselves and with people we love. These are so many practical things that we could stand to internally reflect upon during this time. And that's, you asked me what I was going to do, and that's what I'm going to do. Go back to my world predictions channeling that I just did with the council. This, I believe it was Saturday, Friday or Saturday. You might want to look at that one, because it talked about not only the predictions for the month, but we talked a lot about the eclipse and how to honor ourselves during that time. We talked a little bit about the energy. So there are a few things happening. From the council's perspective, one thing, they gave it a description of a lotus flower being turned upside down in water, in stagnant water, and the flowers were rotting. It was a metaphor and a symbol for our own energies and belief systems that are no longer working, and it makes that beautiful lotus flower just, its petals just rot away, and we can't even see the beauty of the internal center of the lotus flower, because the petals are just rotting. So these are old belief systems, old ways of thought, old ways of living, old ways of caring for ourselves that weren't working. And then they gave me this idea of, after the eclipse, the lotus flower being pulled upward from the stagnant water and turned over so that its petals faced the sun. But the petals were still also old and brown and rotten, so then we had the chance to pull them away to see the center of the lotus flower. And the center of the lotus flower, from the Galactic Council of Nine's perspective, is the enlightenment that we're seeking, the true nature of the soul, the true nature of the I am, the nature of who you are. But we have to pull away those old petals during this eclipse. And again, that's my perspective of what they're sharing. You can take it for what it is. Go internal if you can, and think about ways that really aren't working and what you need to peel away in belief systems, thought patterns, ways that you think about yourself and life and others that really are hurting you or others right now. Be a very compassionate thing to do, and give thanks for Mother Moon and Father Sun in the way that our indigenous peoples on this planet do. And again, just suggestions. It would be a really good idea to consider all of that, because we're peeling away old things, and then we have this opportunity for a rebirth in this period of sacred reflection, just for 3 minutes. 3 minutes until we reach the totality of the eclipse. That's not long to give our time and our reverence to Mother Earth, to Mother Moon and Father Sun, to give our reverence towards honoring what new commitment we will make to our planet, to other humans, to other plant life and animal life upon this planet, and more importantly, to our own bodies and souls. Not that we're more important than anybody else, but we can't give from an empty cup, okay? So how will you treat your body now? Will you have more loving thoughts towards it? How will you treat your children and your spouses and your family? Will you have more loving thoughts for them and towards them? Will you hold space in a better way, or is this time for boundaries, because there's a lot of toxicity? Either way, people seem to be very angsty, tired. I spent the weekend pretty much in bed with another lupus flare that I haven't had in, a year and a half. I haven't had health problems or lupus flares. So it's coming up right? For people to kind of look at what fears they had as well about their health and their body. It hasn't taken long. Like my flare is mainly just tiredness and muscle pain and what's a little bit what's left of what was a butterfly rash, if you can see the redness there. Um, and it's going away. It was much worse when it started. But yeah, it's not a time to be afraid. It's a time to honor our bodies. If your body says sit down and rest, do it. If the body says go outside and honor the sun, do it. But just trust and honor yourself and find new ways to be reverent, you know. And as our indigenous ancestors would often say, it's a very, very sacred time. If we all gave just a few minutes before and during totality to honor ourselves and our planet and to honor our ancestors, it would be a beautiful time as well. To just a few minutes to consider what we don't want and what we do and how we can release old patterns that aren't serving us or anyone or our planet anymore. All those things would be a good time to think about. So what I'm feeling is kind of like the image I got was like people holding hands in this way that it would be like origami or like a set of paper dolls, and the energy of all of our lifetimes. You know, the paper dolls were falling upon each other and the origami was coming into one. So in that vision, what the council was giving me was um, like a symbol or metaphor for all of our lifetimes kind of converging. The word they gave me was convergence. So all of our lifetimes converging into one so that we can, you know, if there's anything that you haven't dealt with from other lifetimes, you will deal with it. You will now deal with it. If there's pain from this lifetime you haven't dealt with, you will now deal with it because it'll be in your face and in your heart in a way that's just really palpable, but not necessarily in a way that's logical or that you're conscious of. Some people who are aware and awakened will be very conscious of it and where it comes from and what lifetime it comes from. But if you don't remember your lifetimes, you may be struggling with, why do I suddenly feel all of these things from these, you know, I can't really identify where it's from. So aware or not, it's happening for everyone. Awakened or not, there's this feeling of nostalgia associated with this eclipse, okay? And the energy is really important to kind of sit with for a bit and honor, because there are multiple lifetimes. In the nature of spiritual convergence, all the pain that you haven't dealt with in all the lifetimes will come forefront for you to feel and remember and look at, if not consciously, just at some level that is very practically palpable for you. And if practically palpable means a migraine or a bad mood or your body creating a lupus flare or whatever the case may be, it might be time to sit with that and just ask the soul, hey, what is it that you're trying to get me to remember? What is it that I am forgetting? Because in this convergence, in this sacred convergence, this is an opportunity for what the council often calls the great remembering, which is memories, if even at a subconscious level, memories of pain and joy and love and gifts and talents. It's not just pain that we're remembering, but talents that we could utilize and mastery on the dharmic level that we could remember and utilize as well. So ask those questions. What have I forgotten? What do I need to remember? Who am I? What is old that needs to be forgotten and what is new that needs to be remembered? Ask all those questions during the eclipse. All right. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.